Have you ever stood at the door of your coop and felt like you were just throwing money into a hole in the ground? You spend real money on quality feed. You keep the water clean, you maintain the bedding, you watch for signs of illness, you do everything the bag and the YouTube video told you to do, and still, the nesting boxes sit there empty or nearly empty day after day. And meanwhile, your neighbor down the road, running the same breed, maybe even buying cheaper feed than you are, collects eggs by the basketful every single morning. You start wondering if there's something wrong with your birds. You start wondering if you're just not cut out for this. You start reaching for your wallet again, looking for the next supplement, the next product, the next solution in a bottle. But here's what nobody tells you. The neighbor isn't spending more than you. He's not using some expensive professional system. He's not calling a vet every other week. He knows something you don't, and the gap between what he knows and what you know isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in information. Specifically, one piece of information that the poultry supply industry would very much prefer you never come across, because the moment you understand what I'm about to share with you today, you stop being a customer, and that is exactly why this knowledge got quietly buried. There is a trick, and I'm going to call it a trick because that's exactly what it feels like the first time you see it work, that costs about $1 to implement, sometimes less. It uses ingredients you likely already have in your home or can find at any general store for almost nothing, and it is so effective at unlocking egg production in laying hens that the supplement companies, the feed additives industry, the poultry pharmaceutical world, none of them want it to be common knowledge, because it makes you completely independent of all of them. The old poultry masters knew it. The farmers of the 1940s and 1950s used it as a standard part of their flock management. It wasn't exotic. It wasn't controversial. It was simply part of how you kept chickens, if you knew what you were doing. But as the industrial model took over, as everything got consolidated and commercialized and packaged, this kind of practical knowledge got treated like a relic, like something quaint and outdated from people who didn't know any better. The modern keeper was gradually trained to believe that the answer to every problem lives on a store shelf, and that training has been very, very profitable for the industry. Today, we take that back. Today, you learn what the industry doesn't want you to know, and it's going to cost you about $1. Before we go any further, if you are tired of being sold solutions that don't solve anything, if you're ready to learn the kind of poultry knowledge that actually fills a nesting box, subscribe right now and join this channel. This is the Old Poultryman. We exist for the keepers who want real answers, not marketing campaigns. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. Now, I need to tell you something honest before we get to the trick itself, because understanding the problem is what makes the solution make sense. The reason most small flock keepers struggle with inconsistent production isn't a nutrition deficit in the technical sense. It's not that the feed is missing a particular vitamin that a supplement would provide. The real issue is something more fundamental, and it comes down to one word: stress. Specifically, chronic low-grade metabolic stress that the hen's body is under almost constantly in a typical modern backyard management system, and that the keeper has no idea is even happening. Here's how the laying hen's body works at a basic level. A chicken is not a machine that produces eggs on a fixed schedule. She is a biological organism whose reproductive system is exquisitely sensitive to environmental and physiological signals. When her body reads those signals as favorable, gut health is good, metabolic function is efficient, mineral availability is adequate, immune load is low. It diverts energy toward reproduction, toward laying. When those signals trend negative, even subtly, the body prioritizes survival over reproduction. It conserves, it redirects, and the eggs stop coming. The problem is that dry commercial pellets, even high-quality ones, create a gut environment in laying hens that trends subtly negative in ways that are completely invisible to the keeper. The pH of the digestive tract becomes slightly imbalanced. Beneficial bacteria populations don't reach the density they should. Mineral absorption is less efficient than it could be because the anti-nutrients naturally present in grain haven't been broken down. The hen looks healthy. She's eating. She's moving around. But internally, her metabolic environment is running at 60 or 70% of what it's capable of. And that 30 or 40% gap is exactly where your missing eggs went. What the dollar trick does, and what the old farmers understood intuitively, without needing the biochemistry to explain it, is rapidly shift that internal environment from neutral or slightly negative back into the range where the hen's body recognizes that conditions are right for production. It's not magic, it's biology, but the effect is fast enough and visible enough that the first time you see it, it genuinely feels like a trick. So here is what you're going to do. The core of the dollar trick is raw apple cider vinegar, not the filtered, clear, pasteurized kind you find in a standard grocery store. Raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, the kind with what's called the mother, that cloudy, slightly stringy sediment visible at the bottom of the bottle. That sediment is a living colony of beneficial bacteria, enzymes, and organic acids. It is the active ingredient. A large bottle of this costs between $1 and $3 at most feed stores, general merchandise stores, or online, and a single bottle will last you weeks to months, depending on flock size. For most backyard keepers with a small to medium flock, we are talking about a fraction of $1 per day. Here is the preparation and the protocol. Take your waterer, whatever style you use, standard bell waterer, a nipple system, a bucket, anything that holds drinking water for your birds. To every gallon of fresh drinking water, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar, just 1 tablespoon per gallon, no more. This is important. More is not better here, and exceeding the ratio doesn't help the birds. It just acidifies the water unnecessarily. 1 tablespoon per gallon. Stir it in or let it disperse naturally. The water will look slightly cloudy and may have a faint sour smell. That is correct. That is what you want. One critical note, do not use this in metal waterers. The mild acidity of the vinegar solution will react with galvanized metal over time and can leach zinc into the water at levels that are harmful to birds. Use plastic, rubber, or ceramic waterers only. If your current waterer is galvanized metal, this is a good time to swap it for an inexpensive plastic one. Give your hens this water consistently, every day fresh. The protocol works best when it's maintained continuously rather than given occasionally. What you're doing over the first several days is gradually shifting the pH of the digestive tract toward a more acidic environment. Not dramatically, not to the point of stress, but in a mild, sustained way that has a cascading series of biological effects. The first effect is on the microbial population in the gut. Laying hens, like all poultry, depend on a healthy and diverse community of beneficial bacteria in their digestive tract. For everything from nutrient absorption to immune function, these bacteria thrive in a slightly acidic environment. Harmful bacteria, the pathogens that cause subclinical gut stress even when a bird isn't visibly sick, tend to struggle in that same environment. By maintaining a consistently mild acidity in the gut through the vinegar protocol, you are actively selecting for the good bacteria and against the bad ones without antibiotics, without prescription medications, without anything that costs more than $1. The second effect is on mineral absorption, and this is where the egg production connection becomes very direct. The formation of an egg, particularly the shell, requires calcium in quantities that many hens are not efficiently absorbing from their feed, even when that feed contains adequate calcium. The reason is gut pH. Calcium absorption is significantly more efficient in a slightly acidic digestive environment. When the gut is running too neutral or alkaline, which is the default for many hens eating standard dry commercial feed. The calcium that is present in the diet simply doesn't get absorbed at the rate the body needs for consistent shell formation. The result is reduced laying, thin shells, or both. The raw apple cider vinegar protocol corrects this directly. As the gut environment becomes consistently more favorable, calcium absorption improves and the laying mechanism receives the biological signal it needs. This is why keepers who implement this correctly typically begin to see results within 5 to 10 days. Not months, not after a whole season passes, days. The third effect is systemic, and it's the one the old farmers noticed most visibly even before they had any framework to explain it. The birds look better. The plumage takes on a sheen. The comb and wattles show improved color. The birds become more active and alert. What they were observing was improved metabolic efficiency across the whole organism, the kind of baseline vitality that the body expresses outwardly when its internal environment is functioning as it should. Modern keepers who switch to this protocol often notice the same things in the same order: energy and appearance first, then production. Now, here is where we layer in the enhancement that takes this from a basic protocol to something closer to what the best farmers of the mid-20th century were actually doing, to the apple cider vinegar water 2 or 3 times per week, not every day. Add a small pinch of cayenne pepper per gallon. Dried cayenne, the ordinary spice you can buy in bulk for almost nothing. A pinch, a fraction of a teaspoon. Stir it in with the vinegar. Capsaicin, the active compound in cayenne, has a well-documented effect on poultry that most modern keepers have never heard of because it has never been convenient for the supplement industry to promote. Unlike mammals, birds have no capsaicin receptors in their mouths or throats. They don't experience the burning sensation that we associate with hot peppers at all. What they do experience is the compound's effect further along the digestive tract, where capsaicin acts as a circulatory stimulant, improving blood flow to the reproductive organs, increasing the rate at which nutrients are delivered to the tissues responsible for egg formation, and providing a mild but meaningful boost to overall metabolic rate. In cold weather, this effect is particularly valuable. One of the primary reasons production drops in winter is that hens divert metabolic energy toward maintaining body temperature rather than reproduction. Capsaicin, by improving circulation and raising the metabolic rate slightly, helps the body do both simultaneously. Farmers in colder climates who used this combination, vinegar water plus cayenne, routinely kept their hens laying through conditions that would shut down a modern flock. The preparation is simple. For every gallon of water in your waterer, 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, plus 1 small pinch, we're talking a 1/4 teaspoon at most, of dried cayenne. Mix it. Fill the waterer. That's it. The total cost of this combination for a standard backyard flock over the course of a full month will be less than $2. For most flock sizes, it will be less than $1. There is no measuring equipment required. There is no special timing. There is no complex rotation schedule. You make it, you put it out, you do it consistently, and you watch what happens. Within the first 3 to 5 days, you may notice your hens drinking slightly more than usual as their bodies begin responding to the improved water quality. This is normal and positive. Within 5 to 10 days, if production had been suppressed, you should begin to see it recover. If you were already getting a reasonable number of eggs, you should see the numbers stabilize upward and the shells become noticeably firmer and more consistent. Within 2 to 3 weeks, a flock that was in genuine production decline, the kind of slow fade that most keepers chalk up to seasonality or age, should be producing at a meaningfully higher rate than before you started. This is not a supplement. It is not a medication. It is not a product with a label and a margin built into the price. It is nutrition science applied at the most basic level, using ingredients that cost almost nothing, doing exactly what the old farmers observed them doing for decades before the industry convinced everyone that chickens needed something more complicated. Now, I know where your mind goes at this point because I've had this conversation with enough keepers to predict the next thought almost word for word. You're thinking, if this is so effective and so cheap, why doesn't everyone do it? Surely, if it worked this well, it would be common knowledge by now. Surely the feed store would tell you. Surely it would be on the label of the waterer you bought. And the answer to that question is the most important thing I can tell you today, because it applies to a lot of what we discuss on this channel and a lot of what you'll encounter as you go deeper into traditional poultry keeping. Things that cost almost nothing and make you self-sufficient do not generate revenue. They generate independence, which is the opposite of what the supply chain needs from you. The feed store makes money when you buy products. The supplement company makes money when you believe your hens need their specific formulation to stay healthy. The poultry pharmaceutical industry makes money when subclinical gut stress in your flock is treated with products rather than prevented with knowledge. None of these entities have an incentive to hand you a piece of paper that says, add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to your waterer and a pinch of cayenne twice a week, and your production problems will largely resolve themselves. That information is not secret because it's wrong. It's scarce because it's right, and because it eliminates the problem before the product becomes necessary. The old farmers knew this. They knew it because they learned from people who had kept chickens their entire lives without ever walking into a feed supplement aisle. Their knowledge was practical and proven and passed down through direct observation and direct instruction. When the industrial era arrived and that chain of transmission was broken, the knowledge didn't disappear. It just stopped circulating. It went quiet, and the space it left was immediately filled by products. We are trying to refill that space with knowledge. That's what this channel is for. So, here is your assignment for this week. Go get a bottle of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. If you can find it locally, buy it locally. If you have to order it, order it. Check that your waterers are plastic or ceramic, not galvanized metal. Pick up a container of dried cayenne pepper if you don't already have one in your kitchen. It costs almost nothing in bulk. Start this weekend. 1 tablespoon of vinegar per gallon of water, every day fresh. Add the cayenne pinch 2 or 3 times per week. Maintain it consistently without gaps. Take note of what you're collecting from the nesting box now before you start, so you have an honest baseline to compare against. Then watch. Watch the birds, watch their energy, their feather condition, their interest in food and activity. Watch the nesting boxes, give it 10 days. The result will tell you everything you need to know about why this knowledge was worth keeping. And it'll cost you about $1 to find out. Doubt is free. So is testing. But only one of them puts eggs in your basket. Stay patient with your flock. Respect what the land and the animals can teach you. And keep building the kind of practice that doesn't need a product to hold it together. That's the old way. That's the right way. We'll see you in the next one.